You have to have it up. Okay. There we go. Okay. Okay. Not sure what the rules are to this live streaming thing yet. Here we are with our early morning stream that I promised rather naively. I had to rush home after work and barely got to sit down for 20 minutes before the stream was scheduled to start. So, unfortunately, yeah, I almost blew it on my very first, like, promise stream. Oh, did I not even, like, just title this as a Lee Live? Whatever, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm not even sure if this should qualify as one or what's gonna happen, because the main thing I really wanted to address is that, like, we really have to go on record and talk about what's going on in the community, because I'm sure there are a lot of people who, like, casually watch the videos, or detractors, or people who don't know necessarily what's going on, who aren't, like, clued in as to, like, the behind the scenes autism in regards to, like, Discord raids and, like, some things in the community and some things that are happening. And I really wanted to address it openly, because it's kind of crossed a line for me. It's kind of done something that I've increasingly found myself, like, very, very unhappy with. And that is my critics. Well, I hate calling them critics because I don't want to lump them all together. Like, I don't know what to call these people, like haters or like detractors, like people who really want to cancel Harman Smith, right? People who just really don't like my channel. Like, more and more, these people are coming after fans. They're coming after people who comment. Like, I've seen, VGL 58 kind of release negative comments about, certain people in my community. Star, I've seen him talk about Retro Fusion Gaming. A handful of other people, right? And VGL hasn't done a lot for a long time, ever since he got wrecked, right, by his community. Like, he's been such a toxic person that he's kind of fallen off by the wayside. But now we kind of have, like, some new challengers coming to the ring, right? We have some people coming out trying to tell us that, like, ooh, Harman Smith, he needs to be straight up canceled. He needs to be straight up removed from YouTube. And to do that, we're going to try and mass report him and try to, like, create controversy even when there is one, even when there is none. And I've seen this, like, surface, like, casually for a while now. Like, I've seen people talk about, like, my political views, or, like, alleged political views and stuff like that. I've seen how people are just kind of, like, obsessively coming after my online personality, the channel, the books, the website has been kind of targeted, kind of. Like, I've seen people, like, uh try and do stuff to me personally for a long time. And for me, it's not really that big of a deal. Right? For me, it's not that big of a deal because there's not really much that they can do to me personally, but there is, like, an issue of what's happening right now in regards to, like, the going after fans thing that just has me, like, not happy, because it's not enough to simply see Harman Smith fail. Like, anybody who is associated with him has to be terminated. Like, these are people who have the opinion that Nintendo is superior. And as a result, we can't allow them on YouTube. We can't allow them to speak their mind. We can't have them making fun of emulation or PC gaming, or, like, certain major Sony IPs, or, like, certain darling indie projects, right? We can't have any of that. Like, we can't allow Nintendo to have any audience at all. Like, we can't have any pushback to the narrative that PC gaming is superior. So we're going to praise Baldur's Gate 3 even though we never played it, right? We're gonna make fun of Harman Smith for, like, sharing a Game of the Year poll in which, like, Metroid Prime Remastered beat out Baldur's Gate 3. We're gonna issue a raid on this poll to try and swing it the other way. We're gonna try and, like, raid Discord communities. We're gonna try and report him for everything he's doing. We're gonna try coming after people's channels. Like I think someone in my community has deleted his channel because of what's going on. I don't know how true that is or whatever, but I don't know, but like I have been seeing a lot more that the people that I've been seeing as regulars, people who are being like seen as like Harman Smith allies, even though like, I have no allies. I'm a true lone wolf in this regard. Like when I look at like what's been happening, like more and more I'm seeing people getting targeted, right? The community as a whole is completely under attack. And it is only because of video games, right? Like let's get this out of the way right now. Is that like there if anybody says anything about like my political views or something I said or what have you, like that's just a cope. Like the real reason I'm being targeted is because of the video games, right? That's the only reason. It has nothing to do with my personal views or like anything I've done or said because the channel itself is relatively clean, right? Like that's not something that uh I do on this channel or on any other like public platform, right? Like it's not something I really talk about a lot for reasons. I'm getting to the point now where I try not to even swear on stream, right? Because it's all about like presenting myself in a very clean, presentable way, right? It's not. I don't necessarily put myself out there trying to be an edge lord in the traditional sense. Like I suppose in a way, like talking about Nintendo the way I do is in its own way edgy because that's such a shocking thing to so many people that like somebody out there actually believes that Nintendo is superior to like the competition because it is such an ingrained thing in gamer culture that it can't possibly be true to the point where like I'm constantly seeing people like rail on like established classics like GoldenEye or Ocarina of Time. Like it's crazy how people will call GoldenEye outdated, but then turn around and like praise Doom or like those old school like PC shooters. Like you start noticing like the pattern here is that like only Nintendo games aren't allowed to be classics. Only Nintendo games are not allowed to be game of the year. Only PC gaming is relevant, right? Nothing PC gamers do is wrong. And if you ever talk about any of it, you're a problem, right? If you talk about any of the things they do, any of the criminal activities they've committed, the if you talk about how they're harassing people, and you talk about the issues, the very real issues with PC gaming, like that makes you a problem, one that has to be dealt with. And I think like seeing how this is all playing out, seeing how aggressively they're coming after people for making fun of PC gaming, right? Making fun of non-Nintendo platforms. Like I think it's safe to say like just why the gaming community is so anti-Nintendo to begin with, right? It's because these kinds of people aggressively come out of the woodwork to downplay everything Nintendo does. Like the way people talk about like Nintendo in 2023, like you would legit think that like only Zelda came out that year, right? But meanwhile, we got like lots of really great games. It wasn't as solid in 2022 by any stretch of the imagination, but we got lots of good stuff. We got stuff like Fire Emblem Engage, Cereza and the Lost Demon, the Advance Wars remake, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, which is my personal game of the year. Like, it's so strange to me that, like, the narrative has been that, like, I was upset that Tears of the Kingdom lost Game of the Year at the Game Awards when I made it very clear, like, going into this that, like, Super Mario Bros. Wonder was my pick. But, like, it's like, okay, like it was such a weird thing with the Game Awards because all of these people were rallying around this idea, right? This concept that like, oh man, Harman Smith is going to be upset when the PC game wins. But like in the end, that didn't happen. Like they like fabricated this narrative that I would freak out, and when that didn't happen, because I've said several times over the years that the Game Awards are corrupt and that we shouldn't take it seriously. If anything, I was more upset at the shilling for No Man's Sky and Cyberpunk 2077, and like having Neil Druckmann like win The Last of Us Part 2 over the Mario movie, right? Like that to me was a much more like disgusting thing for them to do in that regard. Like to me, that was like the thing I was focusing on the most and the thing I talked about the most, right? If it wasn't for like the insistence that I was specifically upset about Baldur's Gate 3, that I probably wouldn't have commented on it as much as I did. And that's the weird thing about Baldur's Gate 3 is that like outside of the weird obsession it has with certain people in the community, it really is not all that relevant. You know, outside of people like spamming my comment section with like, Baldur's Gate 3 won Game of the Year. Like, nobody talks about this game at all. Nobody remembers it. It's not relevant, right? It is the Dragon's Age Inquisition of this year, right? It is The Last of Us Part 2 all over again. Actually, I keep mentioning this. I don't know if I've ever talked about this in a video, but like, if The Last of Us Part 2 was not leaked, like, if it came out in like a clear situation with like no coverage, with no like uh with no like with no like preconceived notions, like people would have come out onto that thing telling us like that like, oh, the game is good, you just don't understand it, it's not woke, you don't understand Neil Druckmann's masterpiece, right? Like with Baldur's Gate 3, like we're having a lot of people like be in denial about how woke the game is, right? We're seeing people in denial about the quality of the game, right? We're seeing people in denial that the game isn't Game of the Year material by any stretch of the imagination. But like, you know, the PC Master Race, like they're so adamant, like they needed that W so badly that they like astroturfed this game beyond, I think, any other game in recent memory, right? The way these guys talk, like you would think Baldur's Gate 3 was more popular than Elden Ring, but that wasn't true at all. That was observably not true, even in like the early hype period from August to like September, right? Like it was such a weird thing. And like it really does feel primarily as if that game was put forward specifically to try and gaslight people into thinking Tears of the Kingdom was not a spectacular release. That's kind of what it feels like. Because, like, it felt like they were going to do that with Starfield, but when they realized that, like, that game was going to be controversial, they had to, like, pivot and push Baldur's Gate 3 instead. And that kind of fell flat on its face, honestly. And we're beginning to see that. Like, we're beginning to see, like, Baldur's Gate 3 lose Game of the Year polls. We're seeing, like, it not really... We're seeing, like, observable reality that Elden Ring was more popular than Baldur's Gate 3, right? Like, we're seeing more evidence, like Hogwarts Legacy was bigger, Tears of the Kingdom, like, it was bigger. Like, there were so many better games that came out this year, but for political reasons, they pushed Baldur's Gate 3, right? And I think the PC Master Race has latched onto that as, like, some kind of epic W, when in reality, it's not that big of a deal at all. Like, the Game Awards are corrupt, you know, like... I've been saying this for years, like, you know, ever since even before I sat down and watched them, before I ever streamed them, like, I preface all of my Game of the Year streams, like, all those Game Award streams, like, with, you know, the Game Awards are a joke, let's not take them seriously, but for some reason this year, there was this very big push to take them seriously. And I do think that is the big thing that people need to do going forward, is that, like, yeah, the Game Awards has completely lost its credibility as of 2023, right? Like, it's just completely done, never coming back. There's no recovering from this. It's over, right? Because of how hard they tried to downplay Nintendo that year, right? And, you know, they do that every year, but, like, after that year, no, it's over. But, like, when it comes to, like, the the PC Master Race, like, they need this W, right? They need like something to talk about. They need something to like hype up. So like, of course, they latch onto Baldur's Gate 3 and they try weaponizing it. They try doing everything they possibly can to keep it relevant. And yeah, like what happened this past week was downright absurd, right? Because this was one of the weirdest situations I've ever personally seen, right? I think it really just goes to show you just how desperate the Baldur's Gate 3 community is when it comes to like trying to pretend their game is popular, right? So for those of you who aren't aware, like Baron Black is currently doing a game of the year poll on his channel, right? He does this every year. He takes every game that was like every major release and like compiles them in a tournament bracket, and then he has them like he has fans like vote on them, and you can see them live vote, and you can like follow along and see what beats what, and then like we decide on the game of the year at the end, right? It's a more reliable process than the Game Awards for sure. But like, because there are no game journalists involved. But like, the thing about Baron Black's channel though is that like it kind of exposed completely by accident the state of the Baldur's Gate 3 community, where Pikmin 4 of all games, a game that sold like 2 million units, that's not a particularly good Pikmin game, not a particularly good Nintendo game. I've criticized it. It was one of my least favorite games of the year. It ended up with a huge lead over Baldur's Gate 3 when they were put up against each other, right? And I like shared the poll. I had a good laugh about it, like, haha, look at Baldur's Gate 3 getting wrecked. And people in my community, people who have been like chomping at the bit, like responding to every single like Baldur's Gate 3 comment I make, like a lot of those people like caught wind of that, right? Justin Diems caught wind of that, and he was just like, oh no, we can't have this. So what he did was that like he took the picture and he shared the link on his personal Discord, on Reddit, and I think his YouTube channel, right? He was telling all of these Baldur's Gate 3 fans, like, raid this poll. We gotta show them that Baldur's Gate 3 is the better game. So, like, what happens over the next couple of days is that, like, the poll gets rated, right? Pikmin 4 versus Baldur's Gate 3 has about, like, 200 votes more than the vast majority of other polls on the tournament bracket, and like Baldur's Gate 3 ends up winning, right? So it becomes this situation where like, okay, like it reminded me a lot of like what happened with the Undertale situation on like game FAQs back in the day, where like a bunch of people who like aren't part of the target demographic come in to like rig a poll that was clearly going to go one way. So they come in, rig this poll, and then like Baldur's Gate 3 goes up against Metroid Prime Remastered, right? So like Baldur's Gate 3 goes up, like the same thing happens, but Metroid Prime wins. Ooh! Baldur's Gate 3 loses to Metroid Prime Remastered, even with the massive Blitz campaign, even with the shills, even with the situation they were trying to pull with that. Like, they were legit, real talk, trying to make this happen. They were legit trying so hard to win this random poll, and they end up losing to a 20-year-old game. And that game goes on to lose the Tears of the Kingdom. But, like, my point is, right, Baldur's Gate 3 really has that, like, atmosphere around it where, like, it feels less like a game that people actually play and enjoy, and it's something that people use for, like, online cred and, like, social status, right? Because I noticed this with Jakey, the one of the two guys that did that response video on New Year's Eve. Yeah, these two guys spent their New Year's Eve like doing a 4-hour live stream on one of my videos, the top 10 best games ever list, which was honestly one of the most embarrassing live streams I've ever seen in my life. Like, it was pathetic seeing these Spurgs try to talk down about universally beloved games that they've never played. Stuff like Bayonetta, Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, Super Metroid, Star Fox 64, like universally loved games that I happen to like consider my all-time favorites, right? So like these Zoomers who have no history with playing games at all, apparently. Like, one of the things I noticed in this live stream was that, like, Baldur's Gate 3, it's Baldur's Gate 3, it's the best thing ever. So, like, I'm watching this, and I just kind of assume that, like, oh, yeah, they're big Baldur's Gate 3 fans. You know, like, of course they would be. That's the kind of person that would be making this kind of stream. Some kind of, like, spurg who's not aware of Nintendo and their history, who hasn't played their games, who doesn't know anything about them. Like, this is exactly the kind of person that would critique this kind of video. Someone who is completely ignorant of how good Nintendo actually is. But then, like, I actually saw on his channel the other day that Jakey was streaming Baldur's Gate 3. And what he says in this live stream, which happened went long after the New Year's Eve stream, like, what he said there, I've only played Baldur's Gate 3 for 2 hours. 2 hours. Like, this guy is going to sit there and tell me that Baldur's Gate 3 is better than all of my favorite games ever made, despite not having played Baldur's Gate 3 at all. You know, a 300-hour RPG, allegedly, 2 hours in, right? Like, I'm told that, like, DSP took, like, 9 hours to, like, get past the tutorial or something. Like, he hasn't scratched the surface on that game. And yet he's trying to tell me it's one of the best RPGs ever made. That it's better than all of my favorite games, right? Like, again, this is the issue, right? Like, this is the problem with the online gaming community. Like, these people are more concerned with status and looking like they're impressive hardcore gamers than they are in actually playing games. Like, you see it a lot with collectors, right? Who have these, like, vast, like, shelves and shelves of, like, classic games and, like, all these obscure Japanese imports that they never play, right? You see people, like, bang on and on about how, like, they're such hardcore fans of such and such franchise, but can't tell you anything about it. Like, you see, like, you have Scott the Woz, like, admitting that he doesn't play all that many games. You know, like, you have situations like that, right? You have these YouTubers who are, like, presenting themselves as serious hardcore gamers who are, like, just sticking it to, like, those evil console fanboys. But in reality, they don't play a lot of games at all. They are completely ignorant as to how good these games actually are. And they are only hyping up certain games based entirely on word of mouth. And I would argue that's the case with, like, all of this super popular stuff, you know, the stuff that everyone talks about on social media. You know, I think Elden Ring is a really good example. There's no reason that, like, there's no way that Elden Ring is popular among general audiences because of the way it plays, the way it looks, like, everything about it. Now, there's no denying that it has a fan base who loves it for what it is, and there's nothing wrong with that. But, like, saying it's a 10 out of 10, like, Game of the Year contender with no flaws is just laughably incorrect. You know, because I know you did the same thing with Dark Souls. Like, how often do you see people today talk about the second half of Dark Souls and how it completely falls apart and how it's, like, a complete downgrade from the first half with, like, the interconnected worlds and all this cool stuff? Like, the second half is such a huge downgrade. And yet you don't hear people who put it on, like, the best game of all time list, like, really talk about that at all. Like, how often do you see people, like, talk to you about, like, how Gwyn is such a disappointing final boss? You know, that you only had to, like, parry twice to beat, right? Like, how often do you hear people talk about, like, the very real problems with Dark Souls, right? You don't, like, is the reality. Like, Nintendo games are nitpicked. Like, until they're, like, broken and bleeding. Like it's like they're scraping the skin and then they get to the bone and then they start like scratching at the bone until it like withers away to dust. And then like you sweep up the dust and throw it in the trash can and then you like burn the trash like and then you try to like sweep up the remains of that too. Like that's basically what they have to do with like every single major Nintendo game, right? Is just obsessively downplay every single one while venerating like even the most minor of PC games, right? Like every single time. Like it is insane the links and like the links people will go to and the IPs they'll shill for in order to like talk down about Nintendo IPs, right? Like that's the reality of the situation we're in is that like these people will obsessively hate Nintendo no matter what. And I think Justin Diems will actually come out and like admit that he hates the company, which is why I have such a disdain for him. Because like most of these guys will do this thing. Like again, I call these guys pretendos for a reason. Like they'll pretend that they're huge Nintendo fans and that they're just disappointed with this specific hardware or this specific title or this specific like thing Nintendo did. But in reality, like they do this all the time with like all of Nintendo's products, right? They aren't fans by any stretch of the imagination. But But like these guys will like be very blatant about what they think about the company. They think they're inferior. They think you are a lunatic if you defend or like Nintendo, right? You are a bad person if you like Nintendo and you're against pirating their games, right? Like you're just you deserve to be taken off of YouTube because of what you said about Baldur's Gate 3 and the Game Awards and every other game you've talked about this year. Like Tears of the Kingdom isn't a good game, even though I've never played it. Like Mario Wonder is not even a major release, right? Like how often do we hear that kind of crap? Like going into Game of the Year award season, like you had a lot of people saying Mario wasn't even a contender, when in reality it was like the best game up there, right? Like again, this is why we need to like keep driving in like the reality that people like these games. Like this is the thing that I get frustrated on with like seeing these people and seeing them complain about Pokemon, about Zelda, about Fire Emblem. Like they keep pretending that Nintendo is failing and is on the verge of bankruptcy and all these IPs are just going away. Like, oh, I see more kids caring about Fortnite than Mario. There's always something bigger, okay? There's always something like there that's like, oh man, we have to talk about this, but not the Nintendo game that just came out. Like every time they make some kind of excuse, bring out some kind of game, and like use it to weaponize against Nintendo, right? They're gonna do it with GTA 6. They're gonna do it with like all sorts of things, right? Like it is a complete joke. I am just appalled at seeing like where things are going right now. Yeah, and it's that's why they're doing it with the Switch too, right? Because they desperately need the Switch to be replaced so it doesn't outsell the PS2, right? Because they were all adamant that it wasn't going to happen, and like they need to like downplay all the Nintendo games that are just coming out in the near future, right? They got to call like Unicorn Overlord a small release. They got to call Princess Peach a small release. They got to call like the remakes. Like that's the big thing I'm seeing right now is that like everybody is disparaging the remakes that are coming out when in reality like all of those remakes are going to be very well received among the fans. Like to this day, you don't see people like try and you don't see people admit that Nintendo is putting out the best remakes in the industry. Like, I've seen people do the opposite. Like, saying that because they don't change enough about the games, that makes them a waste of time. But in reality, like, keeping them true to the originals is what makes them so good. But yeah, like, seeing these people just obsessively, like, just do everything in their power to downplay Nintendo is just straight up laughable. It's absurd. I hope that more people start like noticing this kind of thing and like noticing this kind of behavior and seeing how unhinged they get with defending it, because like I'm sure there are like a lot of other people like Justin Diems who are like doing community posts about me all the time, talking about all the things I'm doing, all the things I've said, like organizing like gay ops on Discord, like, or like trying to come after me. Like I've seen people do that like a little bit, but like ever since the new year, it feels like it's getting worse. And the way it looks to me, the way it looks to my community, it's primarily the PC audience doing it, right? It's not the Snoys, it's not the Xbots, it's not like the mobile gaming audience, it's not like the Ouya fans, it's not people who play on Linux, it's not people who play on classic hardware. Like it's the PC gamers, okay? Like they are a menace. Like they are legit causing problems for other people, and I think they've been doing it for too long. Like I legit think this is like the mentality that makes them so unpopular among the community, is that they genuinely think they're better than you, right? They genuinely think they're playing better games, even if they have no idea what actually is coming out, or like even is even on other hardware. Like it's kind of crazy how ignorant they are. It's unbelievable. Yeah, I'm curious like what we're gonna see from the PC gaming master race going forward. I personally see them uh, losing their credibility. I think is the big thing that's going to be apparent, is that uh, more and more I think Nintendo is going to be able to crack down on emulation, and it's going to be more and more clear to, oops, yeah, low power. Like I got home and didn't even have time to charge my phone, so unfortunately I won't be able to go for all that long. But yeah, what I think. Um, Yeah, I think like the narrative doesn't really hold up to reality, right? Baldur's Gate 3 was supposed to be like the biggest thing ever, right? It was supposed to be like one of the best-selling games ever made or some shit. I've seen people throw up figures as high as like 34 million units sold. And like it hasn't sold that much. Like clearly, like it hasn't had any real momentum. Like everybody's kind of making fun of it. Like the attempt at giving it a Game of the Year award, like it kind of backfired, I think, in a way, because like I think long term this is going to be one of those situations where everybody looks back on this show and are just kind of like, really, they tried that. Like I think going forward this is going to be like one of those games that everybody points to as like an example of everything wrong with the Game Awards, right? Because the game isn't going to have real staying power. It's not going to be relevant. It wasn't particularly innovative at the time. Plenty of people thought it was a controversial choice. Like it's just not that relevant. And I think more and more that the narrative that PC gamers have is that like, oh, we just play the most high end games on our $2,000 gaming rigs. Like it just doesn't match up to reality, because like you see them playing TF2, you see them playing like Overwatch, you see them playing all this stuff that's like easily available on consoles, and it looks and plays identically, right? Like I've played Doom 2016 and on Switch and PC and Xbox, and I didn't really see a lot of difference between them. Like it certainly wasn't worth the effort to upgrade to get the PC version. Like it's the same game. Like the narrative that Switch can't run these big AAA games has never been true, right? Today we got an announcement that Ace Combat 7 is coming. And that was one of those games that like everybody insisted would 100% not run on Switch, even though like it's not that demanding of a game, right? Like Arkham Knight is on Switch now. Like Mortal Kombat 1 is a next gen title and that's on Switch. Like I know people like get hung up over like the alleged graphical quality, but like the issue is optimization. The issue is like the development cycle. Like why are you blaming the hardware for something the developers did? Like there are more demanding games on Switch that run better than Mortal Kombat 1, right? Tears of the Kingdom is more demanding, I'm sure. Like the narrative that these games are simply like too hard for the Switch to process is not true. Like what's actually happening is that these companies want to favor Sony and Microsoft, not PC. And like it's becoming increasingly difficult to do that because more and more people like me are kind of refusing to support other platforms at all. Like it's crazy to me that Hogwarts Legacy sold as much as it did on Switch, like 2 million units, like 6 months after launch. Like I was expecting that game to bomb because of its timing, but it actually did fairly well. Um, I think we're gonna see more and more outliers like it, right? Like it seems like it's the Japanese side of things that are like adamant about like religiously supporting PlayStation, but like Western studios are more open to the idea of like Nintendo ports. So we might see more examples of that. Like, here's the thing, something that's crossed my mind, something that I think might happen in the near future. There's nothing stopping Baldur's Gate 3 from coming to Switch, right? It's not that demanding of a game. It's not that like it's not an exclusive or anything. They're porting it to everything else. Like it's gonna come out on Switch and nobody's gonna care, right? It's gonna be It Takes Two all over again, right? It's gonna come out and it's just gonna be like a fart in the wind. Like, oh, it's Divinity Original Sin 3. I don't know. I didn't even play the last one, but let's see. Remember when they said Persona 5, a PS3 game, couldn't run on Switch? Yeah, they say about every game under the sun, whether it's true or not. I can vouch for the Persona 5 thing. Um, yeah, I should probably end the stream because my battery's about to die. I would love to keep going, but like I gotta sleep. I'm gonna try to come back tomorrow, and we'll probably talk some more about this kind of thing. But like, yeah, like that's kind of what I want to leave off on is like the harassment is getting out of hand, and I don't appreciate like the community being attacked by these people. I just wanted to like address this openly where anybody can see it because I think that I think a lot of my detractors on YouTube would be upset if I got like canceled and if I got my channel deleted because like who else are they gonna make commentary videos on? All right, like oh no, it's Alex is gonna have to like who else does he talk about? Like really, like it's like nobody drives the views up for him like I do. So like if I go, oh no, it's Alex is gonna be pissed. So that's not that's not something you want just in DMs. Like you don't want that giant shirtless like man coming after you. Like, ugh, disgusting. So yeah, yeah. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. Be sure to check out my books at blackoutbooks.org. Check out my author page. Check out like everything else I'm doing. Um, I'm trying to get American Evil finished. Didn't get to work on it today. But actually, I did come up with like a really interesting new plot development. Today, I came up with the conclusion to Yolanda's story, or at least like her role in it. Um, I was kind of struggling with it like last time I worked on it, but I finally came up with a really interesting uh, what I wanted to do. Right, it's really happy with it. Um, Fans are gonna love it. Very Spy Family esque. I hope you enjoy it when it comes out. So until until next time.